Welcome to the Business Leadership Series, where we engage with leaders who are making an impact on their worlds and who want to share their knowledge and experience for your personal and professional growth. The following interview is designed to inspire you to become the best leader you can be. Your host, Derek Champagne, is the founder and CEO of The Artist Evolution, a full-service agency building successful brands, marketing tools, and campaigns, and also the author of the best-selling book, Don't Buy a Duck. And now, let's begin today's Leadership Series interview.
Welcome to the Business Leadership Series, where our goal is to inspire you to become the best leader that you can be. I'm excited about a return guest we have today. You may remember her from being on Shark Tank. She has Mama's Milk Box, great entrepreneur, great business mind, Elena Petzhold. Thank you so much for joining us again today.
Thank you for having me. I love your podcast, and so I'm honored, too, that you would have me back on. I'm super delighted. It's the joy of my day. The
pleasure is mine, and I love your story. You and I talked, I don't know, it's been a couple of years. I don't remember how long it's been, but you and I talked late last year, about you coming back on because you just have there's just been so many changes that have happened with you since the last time we talked. And so I just want to kind of, give us kind of a quick update again, and we'll put some links in the show notes to the last interview. But again, I'm so excited about the topic today of kind of exploring the benefits of pursuing your entrepreneurial dreams, regardless of the outcome, regardless of the pivots, and how you grow from that. So just give us again kind of a little highlight of your background, and then let's talk about what you're doing now.
Yeah. Okay. So I started off in a law firm. I really loved that, and I thought I was going to be a lawyer one day. And then I quickly realized that was not something that I was going to be able to sustain long term. And during the process, my husband got a job in Pittsburgh, and we were relocated. It was right about the time I just had a baby. I was pregnant with my second baby. I think in some way, shape, or form, I always knew or thought that I would be an entrepreneur. I've always had some business or idea since I was like 12. My first business was probably just babysitting,
Right.
But I mastered that, let me tell you, in my teens. So right around the time I was pregnant with my daughter, I was living in Pittsburgh. I was in transition. I was debating whether or not I should find a law firm here to work with. And I was really frustrated by the lack of maternity nursing clothes in the region. So I came up with this idea to open a maternity and nursing boutique. And that whole business took on a crazy life of its own, which eventually led me to Shark Tank. Not too long after Shark Tank aired, I paused the model of my business. So Mama's Milk Box was a nursing apparel subscription service for breastfeeding moms.
Right.
When I started, because I think about this a lot too over the past 2 years, 3 years with the change I've had too. When it started, it was a small business, and at least that was what I thought it was going to be. And very quickly, it actually turned into a startup. And sometimes I think to myself, like, if I had known it was going to be a startup and if I went into that differently, would it maybe have changed the outcome?
Right.
Which, once you're past all of it, you never know. So, but after Shark Tank, where I was not able to secure an investment, the business was at a really pivotal point where we needed more money to grow. And I think it was actually a book that you had recommended at one point, the J-Curve Startup. I don't remember if that was you. And I was reading, and on your recommendation, I read the book, and I remember there was a small section in the book that talked about the crossroads of being an entrepreneur and how you might have to self-fund, and that's kind of where I was. I was like, all right, I've paused the model. We paused the subscription for a little bit so that I could go out and pitch to investors. I did East Coast, West Coast. I had one that I thought was going to be successful because it was a venture fund by women for women, but they had taken on someone that was kind of in my space. And so, they said the timing was off for them. And I kind of got to the point where I was like, all right, am I going to self-fund? and I did not, and I didn't want to. I kind of knew, as much as I knew the business could be successful, I was not willing to tie up my personal finances in it and take that great of a risk, because there was limits to the market, and I kind of knew how much I thought the business would eventually turn into and what it could be. And when you do that whole risk reward analysis and factor in other things, like I still had my young children and my family, I was like, I'm just not going to go there right now. So that was hard, because we had paused the subscription for a little bit and just started selling clothes direct. So, as very popular phrase, I believe they'd call that a pivot.
Right.
it was an unintentional pivot, and I was hoping we wouldn't pivot anyway. When I realized the lack of funding was going to be an issue, I thought, should we stick with this? But our customers, I still love them dearly. They were hell-bent on the service. They just really loved the service portion of it. I still remember the emails that we sent out to people saying, we've just aired on Shark Tank. We're completely overwhelmed. We're trying to pursue investment. We're pausing the service for the next 5 to 6 weeks. And, until then, we don't want to delay. Like, you can shop direct. We've kind of done a traditional format, and probably 80% of them replied or were like, oh, okay, like, thanks for letting me know. Good luck. Like, I'll just hold out till the service resumes.
Wow.
So that was another kind of crossroad where I realized, and I thought about it, and I think, and again, it's one of the reasons I tell everyone, there's just something about being an entrepreneur and the business experience you gain that I would never have given up. Like, I'm so much better in business because even through that, I thought to myself, when you have a concept and you have a model, how easy will that pivot be? So many people talking about pivots. I'm like, well, I've been there. I've tried that. I've done that. And, our customers were so sold on the one thing, it really was not something that can turn into something else.
And I want to talk about the pivot and what you're doing now, but I also want to, if you'll indulge me for a minute, because walking that crossroads, there's people that are either in a business right now and are trying to figure out. You said a couple key things for me that really stand out. And again, you and I've talked. I've had several companies I've failed at or learned, quote unquote, on multiple ones, and I've done okay on a few. It's a learning experience each time. But what is it? When do you decide to walk away? Like, what's that final piece that says, you know what? Because you weigh so many things. You stay up at night. You're thinking through. Is there one more option? Is there one more pivot? So I want to know two things. One is, when do you decide to walk away? And what is it that keeps you there to the last minute? Is it fear? Is it pride? Is it the customers? Just kind of give me the mindset there, because I'm personally just very curious what it's like right there for you.
Oh, I think for the best entrepreneurs, that moment is the same feeling of the moment that you decide not to be afraid and start it.
Right.
So if you're going to be a successful entrepreneur, I believe this really, really strongly, you're very in tune with your own kind of emotions and desires, because you have to be unafraid, you have to be brave, you have to be adventurous. These are all kind of like big emotions. So these are people who just really feel so compelled to start and create that there's something in it. So that kind of same energy and internal gusto, I'm not really sure what the best word for it would be, but that same thing that would cause you to actually pull the trigger and create it, for me, is the same thing that also is the place where you're okay stopping it.
And there's somewhat of a peace when you make that decision too, isn't there? Because there's such a tsunami of, I don't know if even emotion is the right word, but I think it is, because it is your baby, and you do have customers, and you do have all these things around you, and there are all these options, and your mind you explore so many different things. So imagine, I can imagine going from all of that to the acceptance, which does takes the same mindset that you have to start entrepreneurship or start a business. Is there a feeling of peace and stillness, acceptance? What is that feeling like?
You know what? There's a moment of peace, because you definitely are satisfied at finally making the decision and letting go of the unknown, because you've made the decision and But it really, I'm actually really glad you asked me about this, because I did start talking about this with some people and some entrepreneurs I work with. There's also a very long period, if you do it right, you kind of know it's coming and you start it before, but of also grief.
Right. That's right.
And I talk about that with people who are at those crossroads a lot, because a lot of times they just kind of think they'll glaze over it. I don't think you can glaze over it, because if you do, then you lose that satisfaction that you did it and you tried, and that there really is no failure. But just coming to this place of like letting go of, because, you know, as an entrepreneur, we're dreamers. So like our visions are always like how big and in the clouds. My husband always says, you know, you're on the clouds and my feet are on the ground. And I say, and that's why I love you and we're together, you know. I need that.
Yes, that's great.
So our visions are big. And then when you make that decision, some of those visions go away. And I think like you have to kind of allow yourself to go through that too and accept that too. And like your best friends and your best network and your support network, and like those people understand that too, and they give you that space, because it's kind of that moment where you let it go. But then I like to say, like, you also dream new dreams. So it's an interesting space to be in. It's deeply personal for many people. Again, we're the emotional beings. Entrepreneurs, always, the brains are always going, always creating, always thinking.
Well, I truly appreciate you being open and sharing this. And, you know, in fact, we're going to keep going and talking about how that's an asset to you. And, you know, you're a sharp business mind, you're a sharp marketer, and you've been able to take your talents and put them to great use. But I appreciate you taking the time to talk about this, because there is a sense of, for myself anyway, and for some of the entrepreneurs I know, there's a sense of shame, there's a sense of pride, a sense of, it's just hard, even when we talk about failure being a learning lesson. You know, it's we're not failing, we're learning. Deep down inside, for me anyway, when I have had a business that did not work out, I felt some shame and embarrassment and my pride. And that's, maybe I'm a very prideful person, but to talk about it like this is just really awesome. And so when you talked to me about sharing this, I thought, man, we all need to hear this, because there's a transformation that happens here of something way bigger and better on the other side, when we're willing to either let go or to move on to something better.
Yeah, I think most people, and there's nothing wrong with having pride. I think pride is important. I think, you know, wanting to deliver quality work, having pride, I think that's an inherent quality to people. It's hard to develop pride, so I always admire it. But I've always also vehemently rejected shame. And I think that's a skill set that, at least for me, is why I'm able to be successful, because I don't feel shame. I mean, I have moments where I'm not proud of something, or maybe, you know, because I always try to be my best or do my best. But anytime somebody tries to shame someone or make them feel less than for trying, like, that's also just something I completely am against, because I think anytime you have a moment or a person or an opportunity where someone's trying to create or make better or build upon, I find that to be so noble that there's really nothing shameful about it. So if anything too, if for me as an entrepreneur, if I've had people who turn around and say this or that and it tried to like make me feel bad, it also to me is an indicator like maybe this person really just doesn't know, or they're not in business. Because the other thing is, in business, I mean, the bad days and the hard days are inevitable. If you are going to be good in business, you learn that quickly, and you learn how to, you know, master the stress of that.
Right. And I think that personal, you know, for me, personal growth is extremely important too, right? I want to grow my business. I want to be balanced and be there for my family and be intentional. Personal growth is equally important for me. So I've come to recognize that, and not that I'm great at it, but at least I recognize it, whenever there's kind of these darker moments or these, you know, tough decision moments, that there's something better, even if it's only personal development, that's going to come on the other side of it. I was just sharing that with an entrepreneur yesterday who's in the middle of one of these clouds right now, where he's got to make some big decisions. And I just, you know, I was able to tell him, hey, I've been through many of these. And if you're willing to look at it and embrace it, not self-medicate or run from it or hide from it, and embrace it, you're going to come out of this with real significant personal growth, that's one of the most important things to me. So I love that you're sharing this again. Can we keep going so let's talk about post, let's talk about making the decision, accepting it, deciding to walk away. What happens next? And how do you take these lessons and how does that apply to what you're doing now?
I gave myself some space after all was said and done, so that was really nice. I remember I ended the service and I closed up the shop probably not too long before the holidays, and so I was really looking forward to that room to kind of just be present with my family and not necessarily distracted by all the stuff that we had to do or we would have had to do, because, in retail, the holidays are always so busy too.
Right.
And after that, so a lot, when you've had success and you've been on Shark Tank, I still get a lot of people reach out to me too, which I'm always honored and flattered, So from there, I started thinking about what do I enjoy, who am I, what is my purpose. I mean, I've always inherently believed me as Elena, like it's my job to help people. And even in Mama's Milk Box, that's how I felt the joy and the reward of what we did. I've always thought like moms need more support, and here we were on the front line helping moms in their day-to-day. So I loved that. So I did some consulting with some smaller businesses and took on projects where I felt fulfilled that I was helping people. And that was a nice balance of being busy and also having my own space for a little bit. And then, I don't know, and then I guess once I had gone through the grief process and the dreaming of the new dreams, I got to this place where I was ready to be in a routine. So I enjoyed working with clients and that one-on-one and that coaching and that level, but then at the same time, there's always that people that say that they want to do something and you help them and you build a plan and then they don't do it.
Right.
It was almost kind of like physical training, and why I would never want to do that personally. Let's make a plan, but then the person is so excited, but the implementation is really hard.
Right.
And I like action, and so I just kind of had this. Actually, it was so funny. It was a Friday. And I remember having this moment being like, I think I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go back, to like more routine and potentially like just even a larger organization with the same group of people. What do I really enjoy and love about business, and, how can I just focus on that? And the one thing that I love is marketing and business development. That's always kind of been my forte. It's a part of the reason why I was so successful as an entrepreneur. I understand how to market. I understand how to pitch. Right. I love that. And then I was looking back at law firms just because I really liked the intellectual stimulation of that stuff. And, I did want to be a lawyer one day, and not that I want to be a lawyer anymore still. I love what I do, but I just went on to Indeed and I just typed like marketing and business development, 20 miles, and then I hit enter. And the top 10 jobs or whatever, and 2 of them were in a law firm or something. And I saw, and oh my gosh, and I saw the one, which is my job now, and it was so funny because it literally looked like it was just for me. I mean, it's everything I do, everything I'm good at, everything I love. And I was heeing and hawing, and when I was filling out, the application, my husband's like, you're having a lot of emotion over there. Like, are you okay? What's the matter? And he said, I just really think this is the one. I said, it's literally everything I love about business, everything I love doing. And, what I really want to do is just I love working. And so I'm like, I really just want to do what I love. I said, and so I just feel like the second I apply for this, I'm going to get it. And he was like, well, that's ridiculous. He's like, nobody gets a job that fast. And I submitted on Monday. I interviewed on Tuesday. I was there the following Monday or something. I mean, it was so crazy.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, but I love what I do, and as an entrepreneur, I kind of want to touch upon this too for you, because I also believe, and I think hopefully it'll help the other person that you're talking to who's at the crossroads, but you have to embrace a certain level of spirituality. Like, you have to trust that you are where you are supposed to be in the process. Because it's way too hard to navigate those unknowns if you can't really feel and believe that where you are is a part of your long-term journey.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. You're not surviving, you're thriving. You've gone big after your entrepreneur dreams. It doesn't mean that you won't have other entrepreneurial ideas. I'm sure your mind's going all the time with things. But I told somebody one time around a campfire, I think we had a bunch of entrepreneurs at a retreat, and a few of them were not in the entrepreneur mode at the time, and they were feeling bad about it. And I said, a few of us are here because we're unemployable, or because this is just a phase we're at in life right now. It's not right or wrong to be an entrepreneur. It's just part of the journey if you go through it. But it's, some entrepreneurs or in transition entrepreneurs feel that guilt if they're not doing it. But you're showing that you can thrive and enjoy a role. The firm that you're at is getting your experience. I mean, imagine having that kind of experience helping your business grow. That's really powerful. So anything else that you want to share? We got a couple minutes left about having an open mind and an open approach with going into entrepreneurship as just part of your journey.
Yeah, you could add me to the there is no failure group.
Yeah, great.
There's definitely if it doesn't pan out the way you think or envision or hope, there's definitely going to be moments of feeling like it's a failure. But the ability to recover from that is where the business acumen grows. I mean, there's just a certain level of everything that you learn or will learn if you're going to walk the entrepreneur path. And you're not going to learn it in business school. You could do a million case studies. You're not going to learn it by necessarily working for someone else. Particularly for me, like, I really got good at profitability. And I think that was a part for me too, as to how it was easy to come across when I was in the crossroads for making the decision. But if you're going to be a successful entrepreneur, it's not just about pursuing your passions. It's about having the business that you want because you're dreaming it's going to make the money that you need to sustain your lifestyle. And really doing, and I think that's why it's easy when it's not working, at least for me, to walk away, because if it's not giving you that profitability and you recognize that, then it really shows how you respect and value your time.
Great advice. Innovation and growth thrives coming out of adversity and challenges, and you're going to have those times, and it's easy to, you said you're in the failures learning camp. Great. And it's good to hear that, but you've actually lived through it. I have in some periods of my life. And I do believe that's where the meaningful growth can happen. It's part of our journey, that learning process. I call them speed bumps. I call them scars. It's just part of our journey in life. We're going to experience those times, but it's how we respond and how we learn from it is and how we come out on the other side and how we grow. That is most important. Just another minute left. Any final thoughts that you want to share with us from your lessons?
My goodness, I think the last time I said don't be afraid, and I didn't. I think that's how I still feel. I think I don't know. I think there's just something so much. Life is an adventure, right?
Right.
So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of the adventure, and don't be afraid of. I love that speed bumps analogy. It's funny for me. I call them gray hairs.
Yes.
But yeah, it's going to be bumpy. It's going to be the roller coaster. But if you want to live that life of a wild ride, then don't be afraid.
Yeah, that's excellent. And you're walking proof. You're living that. And Elena Petzhold, great to have you on again. I'm excited to watch the next great things that you're doing. I'm so glad you're sharing this story. That's a testament to you and your character and your desire to help others grow, to share this authentically. And so I really appreciate your time again. It's been a pleasure to talk with you again.
Thanks, Derek. Love being here.
Awesome. We'll talk soon.
Bye.
Elena, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Oh my goodness. And you've had that many crossroads? I can't even believe it. But look at you. You're like a cat.
Yep. I am like a cat. That is correct. I've had some big expensive failures. I've had some companies that have done okay, and I've been able to sell them, and some in between that we're incubating right now. So it's just, I don't want to say it gets easier to have lessons, but I think there's just different context, and I'm learning now to bring the right people around me too, and partnerships to help shave years of guesswork. So we're going and trying to do partnerships at the highest level as quickly as we can to save kind of years of spinning and some things. So.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, and that was kind of what I learned too, and it was funny because I had one or two businesses afterwards. I have one still. I actually was going to sell it, but my son asked me not to sell it.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was, and I didn't. I don't really want to bring any attention to it or anything, but I mean, because my husband is like, this is ridiculous. How are you not going to sell this? Because it was worth just a couple $1,000s or whatever.
Yeah.
But I said, how can I having a child too, I do think there's some DNA component to it, and he's like a total mini me. And I said, how can I not? It's not like we're hurt up or anything right now. We're okay. We can let it sit, and if this is something that he thinks he can turn it into something, I don't want to quash that for him. I'm excited to have that there for him so he can step into it.
How old is he? How old is your son?
He's 8.
Yeah, I've got an 8-year-old son as well. That's a very fun age. I get that completely.
Is he want to be an entrepreneur like you?
Well, we'll see. He's definitely one of those that does things a little bit differently. If you try to play a game, he plays it differently. He just looks at the world a little different than he's got an older sister that's 10. They just look at life completely differently. So yeah, I think he'll do something like that. He's tried to start a few businesses already. Little ones.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's already a sign. It's just about the concept of not limiting yourself to what we're taught, work 9 to 5 and bring home your paycheck and blah, blah, blah. It's just, that's not the world we live in.
I love it. And I want them to see that opportunity as well. And, whatever they decide to do, great. But yeah, I get keeping it, especially if you have a curious 8-year-old, what a great way to show them that side of entrepreneurship and opportunity.
Oh yeah, my husband was so mad. I said to him, I think a part of it too is that you would not wish entrepreneurship onto your children having survived,
Right.
But yeah, so he's like, I don't know, maybe, but we do such cool stuff as entrepreneurs, and we get to talk to such cool people and do such cool things. And there's just some part of it that you can't give up. But that's the drug. That's the addicting part.
Right. Well, that's the beauty of it too, though, is it's the what if. What I like about entrepreneurship is, and I think kids are a great example, is when you see, I think of the world when I was that age, which is hard to remember because life hits us so much, especially with all the zigs and zags of life. But remember when the sky was the limit. You could do anything. You could be anything you wanted to be. I don't know. Maybe I'll be a scientist. Maybe I'll be an inventor. Maybe I'll be a police officer. Whatever you think is maybe my son said he's going to do that or be in the NBA. Right? He's just a little bitty guy, and so that he doesn't know it would help to be a certain size and a certain skill set. And so there's something kind of beautiful about that I can do anything and tackle it. And I think that is what entrepreneurship is as well. It's never letting go of that kind of that almost innocent, naive, even sometimes mindset, right? It's beautiful, and so it can be squished sometimes, but sometimes it needs to be. But I love that's kind of to me what keeps older entrepreneurs doing it as well. Is it's the opportunity to dream and make it happen, or even failing, but just even the mindset to try it is fun to see.
I do believe it's what's going to keep us alive into our 90s.
Yeah, I agree.
Hopefully, knock on wood.
Elena, thank you so much. We'll talk soon.
Have a good one.
Elena, you too.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Business Leadership Series, where we engage with leaders who are making an impact on their worlds and who want to share their knowledge and experience for your personal and professional growth. This interview was designed to inspire you to become the best leader you can be.